This is a short video on labeling your ink pads. It's June 19th, 2020, and I just received my 5 new in-color ink pads and I'm going to label them. Let me show you how I do that. Once you've removed the plastic wrapping from the outside of the ink pad, then you'll flip your ink pad over and you'll see that there's a label on the back. This label contains all of the different languages of the name of the ink pad. So this is Misty Moonlight. So I've got Misty Moonlight in English, French, German, Japanese, and then there's a blank one here. So what I like to do is remove this label completely. Instead of just peeling away the clear part, I like to get down below there. There's another level of sticker, and this is the white part of the label. So if you can get underneath both label layers like so, you'll be able to peel the entire sticker label off. All right, and that leaves the bottom of your ink pad nice and clean with no sticker residue. Then I locate the front of my ink pad. This is where I'm going to open my ink pad, and that's where I'm going to place the English language label. As I mentioned, this one is Misty Moonlight. So I'm just going to put the English label right there where I can see it. This is also when it's stored in my ink pad stacker, I can quickly and easily see the name. Then what I do, instead of just throwing away the rest of the labels, is I flip it around to the back side of the ink pad, which is where I typically use the French label. Now, even if I can't pronounce what this says in French, I still have that nice strip of color. So at a glance, I can still see what color the ink pad is. Then on the bottom of the ink pad, and this is important because sometimes during a class, ink pads are moving all over the table, and sometimes they end up upside down, and even upside down at a glance, you can see what color the ink pad is. So here's the German label. Again, I can see the color, Misty Moonlight. Then I like to flip my ink pad open, and this is where I'm going to add this plain label that has no words on it. I'm just going to peel that one up and lay it right in this track or this trough on the edge of the ink pad. Once you start to lay it down, it'll start to stick by itself, and it's pretty easy. But once it's down, you may want to just press it with your paper piercing tool, or if you have your paper snips, you can just give that a little press. It's kind of hard to get your finger down in there. And now my ink pad is labeled on all sides, including the inside. So at a glance, I can quickly see that this is Misty Moonlight. This I have found is really important because if you have several ink pads that are open at once, especially at a class, sometimes it's very hard to tell what color ink pad that is just by the color of the pad surface. That could be black, it could be blue, but at least with this strip of color at a glance, you can see that is even more noticeable on a color like this. This is the Bumble Bee pad, but again, from just looking at that surface, you wouldn't be sure if it's brown or yellow or maybe even an orange. So having that little strip there can be very helpful so that you don't mistake what color ink pad that is. So that's just a little tip. I haven't yet found a use for the final strip. If you find one and want to tell me, I would love to hear your ideas. Otherwise, I just toss that. That's the only part that doesn't get used. And my ink pads are labeled and ready to go.